Hey everybody, it's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 3 4 key game picks. A lot went on in week number 2, so I don't have a lot of time to get through everything, but let me get into my quick thoughts of everything from week 2. Obviously, the big headlines that came out of week number 2 was definitely the injuries. Now, anybody who saw the Cowboys and Eagles game know that Tony Romo has a fractured collarbone, so he's going to be out for a while. For the Cowboys, that is another big blow to their offense right now. With Tony Romo going to be out maybe possibly half the season, maybe more. Not only that, you also add Dez Bryant to injury. Their offense is going to really struggle to find some answers of who's going to be leading that team. From what I read, that the Cowboys did sign Castle. He's going to be playing a fighting chance to get to that quarterback position. But from what I know, Brandon Weeden is still more than likely going to be the quarterback for the Cowboys. So really right now, the Cowboys offense right now has taken a huge blow now without their starting quarterback. Other injuries are that there's word coming out of the Saints camp that Drew Brees has shoulder problems, so there's possible he could be out quite some time. And knowing what the Saints have gone through now, these last two games are now they don't need any more problems. Now, a lot of teams that did go 0-2, like say the Seahawks, the Colts, the Detroit Lions, and all teams that a lot of expectations to go along. Now, for the Seahawks' sake, look, I wouldn't panic just yet. I know they're 0-2 right now, but I probably would say in terms of the schedule right now, they have an easier opponent coming up in Chicago. They will definitely get back on track. Out of all the winless 0-2 teams right now, like the Saints, the Eagles, the Colts, the Seahawks, I think the most troubling right now that's probably into their season right now, I got to say it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Chip Kelly's gambles and moves in the offseason really are not showing it. And it's by looks of it right now that Chip Kelly may have his job now in more serious jeopardy than ever, with a lot of high expectations. And basically this is an underachieving team that's basically going nowhere. I mean, with an injured Tony Romo, they should have had found a way to get back into the game against the Cowboys and should have they only put up 10 points in that game. And that just tells me right now that the Eagles right now, they're in as big time trouble as, let's say, also the Detroit Lions. The Lions going 0-2. Now they got a more tougher schedule than probably any other team in the NFL. They got Denver coming up and some other games. They still have to play the Packers, and that's coming up pretty soon. So to say that whose season's pretty much maybe over, I gotta say it's the Eagles and the Lions. Those two teams, I think now pretty much you can wrap up their season with them now, because really they're just not putting their offense is not consistent and their defense hasn't been able to stop anything. But the only team that probably has hope, I would say the Seahawks and the Giants. Now, why do I say the Giants if they're 0-2? Look, 2 games that they've had a lead and then they just couldn't hold it. Now, I understand there's some questions defensive-wise, but I think they can fix it. Defense-wise, I know they haven't been able to really get it going. Now, I know it's still, but I think they just need to tweak it a little bit. Now, I know and as far as the offensive side, I know they're missing Victor Cruz. Once Cruz gets back, I guarantee you that Giants offense now will definitely put up more points. But obviously, they're having problems more defensive-wise. And other thoughts. New England, as expected, I knew they were going to beat Buffalo. Buffalo is just the team that really, if you trash talk the Patriots, you know they're gonna come back and bite you in the butt. Listen, lesson to all NFL teams. If you're gonna beat the Patriots, find a way to outcoach and outsmart Bill Belichick. Otherwise, the Patriots are just gonna beat you up. Seriously. To all the other NFL teams, either you find a way to outcoach and outsmart Belichick, or the Patriots are just going to beat you no matter what. Anyways, let's get into now my picks for week number 3, as I want to try to keep this video short here. Alright, key game number 1 for week number 3 is the Redskins at the Giants. As I was stating earlier in the week 2 thoughts, now the Giants in this game are 4-point favorite. Yes, they're actually a 4-point favorite in this one. Knowing with the Redskins, though, they're obviously getting on a roll. Kirk Cousins has fit the offense very well for that Redskins team. It's really tough. Look, I don't know if so the odds makers have it at 4 points for the Giants. I think it should be much lower than that because the Redskins really have shown that they're a team that really you should not take lightly. Their offense really has done a great job. They beat up the Rams when the Rams thought they had a good defense here. Turns out that could have been false. That could have been a false tense right there. But but with the Giants right now, they're obviously going to be playing like a desperate team, and they need this win badly right now in order to avoid going 0-3 and possibly their season pretty much over. So I consider this game a toss-up here. This game is a toss-up. And who do I go with this game here? I'm going to go with the New York Giants here. The Giants need this game desperately right now, and if they can get their offense, if they keep their offense intact and find a way to fix some things defensive-wise, I think they can. I think they'll squeak by a win against Washington. Washington is 1-1, and obviously they don't have much to lose at the moment. Instead of possibly just going 1-2, but the Giants need this game desperately right now. They go 0-3. You can pretty much kiss their season goodbye. And I know the Giants will play much desperately, and they are at home in this one, and it is a Thursday night game. I know this is a game I'm pretty certain that they'll beat the Redskins here. Now, I'm not going to guarantee that this is a lock. Remember, this game is a toss-up, and the Giants' offense right now is starting to get intact now. And I know, even though they're missing Victor Cruz, but if they can get their offense intact and get their defense going, and hopefully they can get their defense going here. I know their defense hasn't been able to hold the lead, but obviously I don't know if I want to buy the Redskins just yet. Let's see if Kirk Cousins and that offense can really stay intact and give the Giants a hard time here. But I think the Giants are going to be more hungry in this game. I know it's a short week for them, but they need this game desperately right now. And that's the reason why I'm going to go with the Giants here, out of desperation. They know they need to salvage their season. Otherwise, it's over for them. Giants over the Redskins. Key game number 2. It is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. Speaking of desperation, the Baltimore Ravens 0-2, a game that they lost to the Raiders last week, a game they know they should have won. They should have won, but yet I know their defense right now is a huge question mark right now. Obviously, Shrugs not being there, I know, but you can't use that as an excuse. They need to find a way to beat Cincinnati in this one here. Now, Cincinnati is getting on a roll, even though they barely beat the Chargers on last Sunday, but if their offense pretty much still intact right now, obviously Giovanni Bernard and AJ Green pretty much had a great game last week against the Chargers here. So that pretty much will put this game into a toss-up here. Now, even though this game is a toss-up, Baltimore is actually, believe it or not, a 2-point favorite. The odds makers have Baltimore 2-point favorite here. Probably it's going to be out of desperation. I would say that's probably the reason why they have Baltimore as a 2-point favorite, when really Cincinnati looks like a much better team. And at the same time, too, Baltimore put up only 33 points against the Raiders, even though they lost. But really right now, their defense needs to find a way to stop Cincinnati. Otherwise, Cincinnati is going to win this game. So who do I have in this game? I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Defense is a major issue for the Ravens. And if they don't find a way to stop the Cincinnati Bengals, Cincinnati is just going to win this one, probably by 10 points, maybe more. But unless Baltimore can fix their defense, I don't see them beating Cincinnati. So that's one of the reasons why. The Cincinnati Bengals look much more healthier. They can run the ball, and pretty much their go-to target is AJ Green. So basically, Andy Dalton's having pretty good 2 games. Let's just see if he does with the third one. I think he will. It'll be a very close game, no question about it. But I see Cincinnati coming out the victor in this one. Bengals over the Ravens. Key game number 3, the Atlanta Falcons against the Dallas Cowboys. Atlanta is a 1-point favorite in this one. Possibly could be more. This Dallas injury team is going to really be put to the test. Atlanta had to come from behind to beat the Giants. Let's just see if they can hang with the Cowboys. Now, I know you're probably going to ask me, hang with the Cowboys. If Romo's hurt and Bryant's hurt, why you say hanging? Now, look, Dallas is still fortunate enough. Look, let's just see what happens with Brandon Wedden, if he's going to be the quarterback or if he's going to be fighting for that starting quarterback position with Matt Castle. But whoever's the quarterback of that team, they're still pretty decent right now, offensive-wise. And defensive-wise, I can see there's some questions right there, even though they did beat the Eagles. But Atlanta, they're running the ball effectively. Even though Matt Ryan's performance against the Giants wasn't all that good, but they did come from behind and they showed it. Obviously, turnovers were key in their victory against the Giants last week, and they really need to find a way to turn the ball to create some turnovers to beat the Cowboys here. So and especially with the Falcons only as a 1-point favorite in this one, this game cannot be any more of a toss-up here. So who's going to win this game? I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I think the injury problem right now with no Tony Romo, with no Des Bryant, really Coach Garrett is going to have to find a way to get this offense together and on the same page. And I think in this game, it's not going to happen. Atlanta is running the ball effectively. Their passing is pretty good. There's pretty decent. And I think this will be a squeaker, no question about it. I see this game very close, but I see Atlanta coming out the victor here. I think it might take to 2, maybe 3 games for the Cowboys to get their offense back on track, and especially they need to get on track as soon as possible because they got the Patriots coming up. But for this game, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons over the Cowboys. And finally, key game number 4. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers against the St. Louis Rams. Now, why is I having this as a key game here? Now, Pittsburgh, they really beat up the 49ers last week. And believe it or not, the only reason why I'm saying this is a key game here, it's because Pittsburgh, believe it or not, is only a 1-point favorite against the Rams. Now, I know a lot of you are going to question me, like, where are you getting your odds numbers here? Now, look, I know the odds numbers change every single day, and by the time I record this video, I go along with that day's current odds. So, obviously, that number may go up to 2, possibly. But if you look at the Rams, their first game they played the Seahawks very well, and the Redskins, not too bad. They didn't lose by a lot, but the way Pittsburgh's playing right now, look, they beat up a 49ers team that still has a lot of questions. Now let's just see what the Rams defense can do with this Pittsburgh team. Now Pittsburgh, obviously, they basically just threw everything at the 49ers defense. They passed the ball effectively. They ran the ball pretty decently. But obviously, the one problem that the Pittsburgh Steelers are having is really their special teams. It's kicking. It's their kicker. Josh Scobie, I don't know if he's still on the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's reports that I'm reading that there's a chance he might be cut. And obviously, the Steelers right now have some issues. They need a kicker. Because it may come down to field goals if somehow the Steelers get into a tight game. As for the Rams, they just have to go back to that Week 1 game against Seattle. What did you do right? You basically held the running game very well against Seattle's run, and passing, you put a lot of pressure. They put a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson in that Week 1 game when they beat them. And that's what the St. Louis Rams have to do here. They need to put pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, and they need to force Pittsburgh to try to make field goals if they know that their special teams, their kicking game, isn't that good. But who wins this game? I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a chance this game might be tight, and I know the odds makers have this as Pittsburgh only a 1-point favorite. It might go up to 2 by the end of the week, but for Pittsburgh here, let's just see how well they do here. I know like I said, their special teams, their kicking game is going to really be put to the test if they somehow get into a close game with the Rams. Now, I know Pittsburgh gambled a lot. They did go for 4th down a lot, and they went for 2-point conversions. But let's just wait and see what they do here if it has to come down to field goal. And that's scary. But I like Pittsburgh in this one. I like Pittsburgh in a close game here. I'm going to go with the Steelers over the Rams. All right, everybody, that about wraps it up for my key game picks for week number 3, go to thesportblog.blogspot.com for all of my week 3 picks. And until then, I will see you all next week when I talk about my key games for week number 4. Until then, enjoy your football weekend.